Mayor Herbig,
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Excused. If you'd all please join me in the flag salute. All right, next up on the agenda is the agenda approval. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, why don't we just say yes or yay or nay? Do we all approve the agenda? Yay? All right. Agenda's approved. Let's move on to our presentation. First up, we've got Dr. Eric Murray, the president of Cascadia College, to give us the state of the college. So, Dr. Murray.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor, members of the council. Let me do that. Deputy Mayor, members of the council. I'm sorry that the other three members can't be here today. City Manager, hello, Rob. I've been the president of Cascadia College for 9 years, and rarely have I come in front of you to give a State of the College address. We are your community's college. You're in our service district, even though we're located in Bothell. And while I've been around at a number of gatherings here at City Hall and we've interacted, I would also say that our relationship over the last 9 years has grown tremendously. Cascadia has finally embraced the fact that the city of Kenmore is in our service district, as well as the schools that we serve here. So I thought maybe we could make this a habit. I'd just come and give you a real quick 5-minute presentation on our numbers, where we stand today, what some of our greatest challenges and opportunities are over the next year, just so that you're aware of the resource and are up to speed. And then I'll be happy to answer questions afterwards. So, as you know, we're a community college. We're located with the University of Washington, Bothell. We have all of those advantages that a community college has with open access and affordability, programs that are relevant to industry, although we are mostly a transfer institution, which is unlike a lot of other community colleges. 90% of our students come with the intent of transferring to a university, and about 2/3 of our students end up going to the University of Washington, either Seattle or the UW-Bothell campus. We've got great faculty, more Ph.D. faculty than any other community college in the state, and we hopefully offer some flexible and convenient schedules. This is my favorite slide because it kind of gives you us in a snapshot. We serve over 5,000 students. Of particular interest up there is that 58% of our students are working part-time. We have the lowest number of students on financial aid in the state, less than 20%, but yet the highest number of students who work part-time. And what that says to me is that we're serving a middle-income group of students, those who are making too much money in their families to afford financial aid, but not enough to actually afford the cost of college, so they're working part-time. We're seeing an enrollment decrease right now. The economy is really good. People are able to step out, work a little bit, and earn some money, and hopefully those students will end up coming back to us. These are the top 5 cities that send us students in the order of the number we get from each of those cities. So you can see that Kenmore makes the list. I was just in Redmond last week. They were a little disappointed that they didn't make the list, but those folks up near the college have a higher tendency to come to us. These are also our top 5 feeder high schools. You'll see Inglemore in there, and Juanita is in Kirkland, right? Not Kenmore. I always get that one confused. We serve students who are coming for the 2-year degrees. We have over 600 students in the Running Start program coming from over 45 high schools, and we, of course, offer STEM programs. They're also coming for 2 bachelor's degrees that we offer, one in environmental sustainability, the other in mobile application development, and we do adult basic ed, worker retraining, and we also have a continuing education arm. Our continuing education arm serves companies in the region with these kinds of programs. And I've actually updated this slide. Our annual budget's $24 million. The number of employees is correct. One of our challenges ahead is because of lower enrollment, we're going to have to be cutting out about $500,000 out of our budget in the coming year. I know that budget cutting and budget management is something that you all work through as well, and it's something that for the first time in Cascadia's 20-year history, we'll be having to make some adjustments. Our challenges ahead are that enrollment valley, making sure that we're marketing to our students and getting them as many as we can. Because we don't control our revenue, the state controls our tuition and our subsidies. So the only way we control that is through enrollment increases. We also need to work with the legislature to have them continue funding higher ed. Right now, there are all sorts of crises out there. There's still K through 12 issues, there's mental health issues, there's an orca crisis, an opioid crisis, a housing crisis, a transportation crisis. No one's talked about the higher ed crisis, but maybe one day we'll make the list, and then we'll continue to market. And then our opportunities, we are in the process of building a new building with UW Bothell. That should open up in about 2 years. We are also building a parking garage, which maybe you've read about in the news lately. We have a couple of neighbors who aren't so happy with our parking garage. We're continuing to work on that bachelor's degree. We've just hired an equity and inclusion specialist to make sure all of our practices are equitable and inclusive, and we're planning to continue marketing and expanding Running Start. So that is a really brief update on where we stand at the college. We're doing really well, and we continue to be here to serve. So happy to answer questions. If there aren't any, that's okay too, and hopefully can come back also in a year and do this again.
Councilmember Curtis.
I was interesting that one of your notes said that the homeschool was using your services quite a bit.
Yes.
Does that compare differently than other universities?
Yeah, I think we have the highest homeschool population at the college, and reputation has gotten around in the homeschool networks that we can offer the higher level classes that maybe homeschool networks can't provide. And so when they find a place where it works well for them, that word gets around in those tight networks. So we have quite a number of homeschoolers on campus. We consider them Running Start students. Yeah, it's a big population.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Marshall.
And what are your largest funding sources then, besides the legislature? How does funding break down, and where do you look to
So
expand that?
90% of our funding, 45% of our funding comes from tuition that students pay. The next 45% comes from the state allocation that we get per student. That's 90% of our funding. And the last 10% comes from small various grants and auxiliary services and things that we have, foundation support, those kinds of things. So a little over 90% of our revenues are coming from those two main sources. We've just completed a whole year-long effort to try to figure out other revenue sources for us, and it's really difficult when you don't have the capital to start an investment, when you're trying to find something that aligns with your mission. And what we've decided to do is put a lot of effort into retention efforts. Keeping students at the campus rather than them stepping out is a great way for us to increase our revenue.
Councilmember Curtis.
It seems like you have a limited number of bachelor programs yet. Do you have some more programs you plan on adding?
Yeah, so in the community college system, you're only allowed to have a baccalaureate program if it relates to one of your two-year technical degrees. We only have 2 technical degrees at Cascadia because we were built to be a transfer institution. So we don't have the welding and automotive and engineering and nursing, all of these other areas where you could develop baccalaureate degrees. So the environmental sustainability, we have a 2-year version, and the computer science related degree, we have a 2-year version. So those are the only 2 domains we're allowed to create a baccalaureate degree in. And so we've maxed out on what we can do.
Rob.
Yeah, Eric, thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for all you do for the community. Many of you may not know, but Dr. Murray is very involved in the community, especially among other college presidents I've worked with. He's served for many years on the Chamber Board of Directors and president for a couple of years or so. And yeah, I just really appreciate his involvement with the community. And he also is the MC at the State of the City. He's done that every year, and I think he's going to MC on Wednesday, right?
I am, and you better come because I have a special reveal.
So, thank you.
All right.
I would also add that he is a really great moderator for city council debates. So,
Yes. And I trade off with the University of Washington Bothell, so this year Kelly Snyder gets to do that duty, although I'll be there.
all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, next up we have an update on the 2019 Hydroplane Cup event. Presenting will be Anna Capoletti and Rick Sandstrom.
Deputy Mayor, council members, thank you so much for having us here tonight. It's our 6th annual event of the Kenmore Cup. This is a historical event that we brought to the community to the banks of the Sammamish Slough since 1938, and it ended in 1976. We just brought it back 6 years ago, and every year it continues to keep growing. On April 6th, we will have our title sponsor of 192 Brewery with our club, our association of Seattle Outboard Association, will be proudly presenting the 6th annual Kenmore Hydroplane Cup. These also have 2 to 3 cylinder outboard hydroplanes, which these guys will go ahead and go down towards Squires Landing, and they take a right turn, which usually hydroplanes don't take a right turn, they only go left. But they will be taking a right turn and coming back, and they hit the city limits at Kenmore, and then they'll return back to the boat launch. It's an exhibition run, so they're basically timed. They're not scored like we normally would score them at any of our other circle races. We will also be having an unlimited vintage boat that will be on display at the event on Saturday. We'll have what we call it's like a jet engine boat that is going to be on display as well. It's never been here. It usually runs in very shallow water. This will also be, we've had events where when it first started out, it's been growing every year. So last year we had 25 participants. The boats go from 1994 to past. On Friday, April 5th, we are inviting the community to our kickoff event, which starts our entire season at 192 Brewery, and that starts at 5:30, 6 o'clock, around there. And then we also, on Saturday, will start at 10 a.m. and go till 4 p.m. So we would like to invite all of you guys to come down and to be able to be a part of a historical event and have you guys see what it's all about. We are also, with our sponsors, we have Plywood Supply and C&M Trophy, our Hydroplane and Raceboat Museum located in Kent, Washington, and Jet City Printing, along with Mark Lord and Seattle Water Sports. These guys have been on board with us every single year, and I have to tell you, being a person who's put on boat races for quite a few years, I can tell you that this city is so behind it. And we are so pleased to have you guys support our event because, especially on this side of the state, it's very humbling and we're very thankful for that. So thank you. At this point in time, if any of you guys have any questions.
Councilmember Curtis?
Why do the boats only turn left instead of right? I sort of imagine like roller skating. They go around one way for a while and then they go around the other, so they're not lopsided. But
Well, I've never driven a boat. But but I'm pretty sure it has to do something with the skid fin being on the left-hand side. But there's a couple back there that actually have raced. Mr. Sandstrom is here. He's our chief referee, and also our announcer, Kay Brewer. She's also a resident that has grown up here in Kenmore. So if they could, either one of them can answer the question, but I'm pretty sure, am I right? Yeah. Yep.
There's a turn pin on the left side that actually helps you turn left, but the way that it's angled, if you turn right, it's not. But back in the days when the slough used to have more of the left-right turns, if you watch some videos, they didn't put a turn pin on the thing, and then now we just use our old video. Actually, I think that's what I do too. All of my sports are really good. But once they straighten out just a little bit more, after that, but you guys know back then we used to actually have skiers together. Our skiers behind the boats. Those are kind of but I think that's what
Councilmember Marshall?
I thought speed or time was all that mattered, but there's like additional, very briefly, what is the additional scoring?
Maybe Mr. Sandstrom can answer that question.
Well, this being an exhibition, you can't run an exhibition without people wondering, did I go faster than my competitor or not? We keep telling them, this is not a race, this is a show. So in a normal event, everybody's timed. We run either 2 or 3 heats. person with the fastest overall time is the winner. Here, it's just kind of bragging rights. That particular year or this particular year, I was the fastest boat. And as I say, we tried not to have them, as we say, race. We don't want to stop the thing for somebody in the water. And we've been very fortunate over the years that there's only been a couple people that have ended up in the water. But, that's basically how we handle this particular event.
Cool, thanks.
Any other questions? I just want to say I look forward to this every year. My dad grew up in this area and used to take me down to Seward Park when I was a kid and watch, Miss Bud and Chip Hanauer and all of this. And when these were first coming up, even that first year when it was just awful out, Dad and Mom came up and we dragged the kid out and we had a great time until it got too cold. But we look forward to this every year and it's a lot of fun. And it's fun to see the community around it grow every year, so thank you.
We're very thankful for it. Thank you guys so much.
All right, thank you. All right, next up, we have citizen comments. This is an opportunity to express your views on the issues that are important to you in the community. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Your time will be shown up on the screen behind me. City Clerk, do we have anybody signed up?
Yes, Joanna Crocker.
So tonight, I'm here to offer gratitude, and I'm going to start with the staff.
I'm sorry, could you just
And,
say,
oh
say
yes,
your
I have to
name
say
and
my name
where you
and
live?
address. Joanna Crocker, 7301 Northeast 175th Street in the Inglewood East Park. And yeah, the staff have been great. And I don't know if any of you noticed, but a lot of times they push a special chair up, and it's because the regular ones cut off my circulation and I fall over when I get up. And they've been so great. And thank you to all of you, for listening to all the fears, comments, everything else that have come up about these parks. So I just have one reflection I'd like to share with you. So in the late 1960s and 70s, I was a student at Columbia University in New York City, and we had a middle class. In some of those Upper West Side neighborhoods, you could get your shoes fixed, you could get your new suit hemmed up. There were all sorts of little things like that. And when I go back to that part of New York City now, there's no middle class. They're living 3 hours away. So the point of this is people like all my friends in the parks are real middle class. They're like those kind of people who are still fixing your cars and making your stuff, and they keep things going. They're like the oil and the grease for what happens. And so just thank you for listening to all of that, and thank you to all my manufactured home park neighbors who keep us going.
Kylan Parks.
Good evening. I just want to be very brief, but also express my gratitude. My name is Kylan Parks. I'm with the Association of Manufactured Homeowners, statewide organization, and I live in Linwood, Washington. And I am a manufactured homeowner. I, again, want to basically ditto what Joanna says. The process has been very long and very arduous in many ways with the Planning Commission. I just sat there and reflected about how many meetings I've been here over the year. But it's really a testament to the forward thinking, and you really want to doing something right by researching it and hearing all of the voices and making as transparent process as possible. And I think you have been able to accomplish that, and I really appreciate it. I'm sorry Lori Anderson is not in the house tonight, because she has been absolutely amazing with how she has kept in contact and answered any questions very patiently, and has really gone above and beyond. So thank you so much for the process. Appreciate it.
Kay Brewer. Kay Brewer? No, no. Oh, okay, no problem. So no Kathy Myers? Okay. Stacy Valenzuela. Oh, no worries.
Thank you. Stacy Valenzuela from Lakewood Villa. We appreciate the mobile home park zoning and preservation, 10 years for the parks on this side of 522, and permanent preservations for the 255 and older parks. But I'm concerned. If part of the mobile home park zoning is to extend TDRs and payment in lieu to property owners who preserve the affordable housing, that's great and we appreciate it. However, keeping the lot rents affordable below the 40% for low income or 30% of fixed income for seniors should be part of that requirement, as well as the infrastructure. Therefore, any property owner who fail these requirements should not qualify for the TDRs or the payments in lieu. This is not the same as a rent cap. This is an agreement with the city that provides compensation to the property owners. Raising the rents fail to preserve affordable housing. Please, we need your help. The landlords know the incomes as stated on the rental agreements. We have seniors now that are on the verge of losing their homes for high rent increases. We hope you can help us with this. Thank you.
There's nobody else signed up.
Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard? Come on up. And then after you're done speaking, you'll need to go sign in with the city clerk.
Hi, my name is Carol Myers, and I'm the president of the HOA at Lakewood Villa Manufactured Home Park. I, too, would like to express my gratitude for all the hard work the city employees and you all have done on our behavior. Ms. Valdez, I just have to agree with her. We are, at this point in our park, we don't have a management because management has left because they've been doing very shady things. And we've had some substantial rent increases where most of our park is a 55 and older park. But the average age of our people that live there are 70 to 90. And we would really like, what I'm asking is, I agree with the TDRs. We need some kind of a, not a cap, but a percentage. Right now, to even move into the park or to be even looked at to move into the park, you have to make 4 times what the rent is on these parks. That's $685. The average Social Security check is $1,100. That's not 4 times the rent. And they just imposed this. So when you do this and all your TDRs and all of that, can you kind of, I'm asking that you please keep these things in mind. All right, that's all I have to say, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Just make sure you sign in with the city clerk. Does anybody else wish to be heard? All right. That closes the citizen comments. Next up, we have the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Next up, business agenda, mobile home park zoning code amendments. Debbie Bent, Community Development Director.
Good evening, Council. I too am sorry that Laurie can't be here. She knows these regulations inside and out, and she done a lot of time and hard work on making sure that we do have a transparent process, getting a lot of feedback, and working closely with the City Attorney to bring forward these draft set of regulations. So I'm here tonight to ask for your direction, or to make sure at least we're on the right track to follow your prior direction, which was preservation of the 2 mobile home parks south of 522 on Northeast 175th Street for the long term. And if you recall, in December, you did pass comprehensive plan amendments to set that direction in the comprehensive plan. The 4 remaining parks north of SR 522, your direction was for phased zoning, to have the mobile home park community preserved for 10 years, after which then allowing increased densities with affordability requirements. Attachment 3 in your packet is the draft zoning code amendments. And there are several substantive changes which I will highlight, which are also highlighted in your packet. A public hearing on the proposed amendments has been scheduled for March 25th at your next council meeting, along with council consideration of potentially adopting an ordinance to implement those zoning changes. So as drafted, the manufactured housing community district would be applied over all of the 6 parks. This designation also allows for an exception process for a landowner to request other zoning subject to meeting certain criteria. So in other words, there is a safety valve put into the code. The code would also then allow for the transfer of density credits, provided that there is a long-term covenant in place to preserve the existing park. The regulations also provides alternative compliance when a development proposal requires an applicant to build on-site affordable housing, and provides alternatives such as purchase of existing affordable housing or a fee in lieu that could then be used for preserving affordable housing units. The other change I'd like to highlight is that there is a requirement for a relocation plan to be approved and in place prior to a start date of a park closure notice. So those are the substantive changes in the ordinance, and they are reflected in attachment 3. You also may recall that there is a moratorium currently in place that prohibits mobile home park redevelopment, and that mobile home park moratorium was put in place to allow the city time to consider options. It does expire on April 8th. So we're also scheduling a hearing on March 25th to consider extending the moratorium for a limited period. The extension would not be necessary if council adopts the implementing zoning regs on March 25th, putting the manufactured housing community district zoning and regulations in place. For the 4 parks that are north of SR 522, the phase zoning then would say that there would be increased zoning densities and affordability requirements applied after 10 years. To support this approach, and working with the city attorney, the recommendation is that on March 25th, council would pass a resolution stating the city's intent to consider updating the comprehensive plan in 2019 to include a new section that provides the foundation for the phased zoning approach. And then, as this would be involving comprehensive plan amendments, that would then be sent back to the Planning Commission to develop those amendments and associated implementing regulations. You may recall that this approach was also one of the recommendations from the Planning Commission, so I'm sure they're going to be supportive of this approach. So we're not anticipating that this would take a lot of Planning Commission time to accomplish. So that is a summary of the regulations and the approach and the process. So again, we're not asking you to take any formal action this evening. You could take formal action next week, or in 2 weeks, excuse me, after the public hearing. So I'm here to answer any questions, and if I can't answer them, I will certainly take notes and bring back a response on March 25th.
Councilmember Danuski.
I had a question on your upzoning and affordability requirements section. How we ended up at moderate income for that. It's kind of the idea would be that those people who lived in the parks would be able to get the affordable units there, but I don't think they'd be able to get it at affordable, and I'm wondering why we didn't put that at low income.
Okay. I don't have a full answer to that, but the question, I guess, would be how was the affordability requirement set, and could we make it at a
Lower, yeah.
lower or high. I always get. I know what you mean.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Councilmember Marshall.
This is more of a comment. I respect that we had the discussion very thoroughly last fall regarding disparate treatment of the mobile home parks, but my concern is still a disparate impact upon these parks north of 522 where our Spanish-speaking neighbors, many of them reside. That's still my concern. Thanks.
Councilmember Danuski.
One more question on attachment 3, page 6, number 5. If I read that, it seems like the two sentences are contradictory. Manufactured homes and mobile homes are allowed only in manufacturing housing communities, and then designated manufacturing homes are not restricted to manufacturing housing communities. So how am I not reading that? Can you explain that? Seems like it's contradictory, but I'm
Sorry,
thinking.
where are we looking at? I'm trying to follow.
Attachment 3, page 6, number 5.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, there's a nuance there that I don't understand, but it seemed like it was contradictory.
I don't know if it's contradictory or sort of saying the. I don't think it's contradictory, but I don't know, I can't give you a full explanation of the difference between designated manufactured homes.
My guess is you can only have manufactured homes and mobile homes in the manufacturing houses community, but you could maybe have a manufactured home somewhere else, is that?
That's true, yes.
Okay, that's
that is
probably
true.
what I'm just trying to say then. Okay.
I want to echo Councilmember Marshall's statement earlier. And I also, I mean, I'm trying to figure out at this late date, the suggestion that was made by Ms. Valenzuela is actually an interesting one that I would have liked to have had 6 months ago. We were going through this of tying the, somehow the exchange of TDR, not just to the preservation of the current land use, but actually to a certain level of affordability for land rents. I know that we can't do rent control in Washington State, but I think that there might be a point to be, that there might be a way to thread that needle with the suggestion and with kind of in the covenant somewhere. I really hate to do this at this late date, but is there any way we could look into that just a little bit before we come to a final decision?
We can certainly look into that. I think it raises sort of a legal question on how to tie TDR to rent, and I'm not sure if legally we can do that. So certainly be working with the city attorney to address that question.
Yeah, I'd appreciate the background on that just before we make any final decisions, because I think it's an interesting idea, and I just wish we had had it like a year ago when we were going through all this discussion, had as part of the menu to dig into a little deeper, so.
We'll certainly take a look and see if it legally is feasible and if that makes sense as an option.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right. Well, thank you so much for all of your work on this. I know it's been a slog, and I know there's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears poured into this. So thank you for everything, and hope Lori is feeling better soon.
Yeah, I can say, well, I wouldn't look at it as a slog. I think it's been a process that's worked very well. I think we started with a very complex topic, and we weren't really sure whether we'd be able to reach a resolution. And I think the direction that we're heading is pretty fair.
No, I agree with you. I actually think this is a prime example of something we wouldn't be able to do without our planning commission. You know, the work that they put in is phenomenal. So thank you. Next up, we have a Regional Coalition for Housing 2019 Administrative Budget and Work Program. Nancy Owsley, Assistant City Manager.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and Council. Following on the discussion of the mobile home park regulations, we're here tonight to ask for your discussion and approval of the Regional Coalition for Housing work program for 2019 and the administrative budget. As you know, Kenmore has been a member of ARCH along with 14 other Eastside cities and King County for a number of years. And part of the interlocal agreement says that every year the council has the opportunity to approve that administrative budget and work plan. It's also my pleasure to introduce to you tonight Lindsay Masters, who is the managing director of ARCH as of October, and she'll have a chance to update you on some of the activities of the agency. She was with the City of Seattle Office of Housing for about 10 years and fulfilled a lot of different roles in her time at the city, including working on transit-oriented development with Sound Transit. And so she's seamlessly come into this area that we're living and working in with bus rapid transit on the way, and look forward to working with Lindsay and ARCH on making the most of opportunities for housing that is affordable and near transit. So I will just go over a few highlights about the budget and the work program. The share for Kenmore of the administrative budget is up about 3% from last year, and for this year it is just under $30,000 as part of the share of the overall administrative budget. And also the work program, see a number of different activities that the agency is involved in, but then there's a section in the document that talks about what each city is planning for this year. And you'll see a lot of the same themes of a lot of cities are working on transit-oriented development and different regulations or zoning initiatives that will address affordable housing. So with that, we are, after Lindsay has a chance to make some remarks, we'll be asking for any questions that you have about either the budget or the work program, and ask for your approval.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to be here. I will just spend a few moments talking about who ARCH is, the way that we work with some of our member jurisdictions, some of the opportunities that our executive board have highlighted for our work program in 2019, as well as some of the activities that we have in Kenmore. So ARCH is a regional interlocal agency. We were created by several East King County cities about 2.5 decades ago. Our membership has grown to cover most of East King County. And our governance structure really is that we are governed by our members. We have an executive board where each member city, save for our smallest jurisdictions, have a seat on our board, and that board comes together and meets on a monthly basis to discuss our work program, and really just make decisions on behalf of the agency. In addition, we have a citizen advisory board, and that body comes together, represents the communities of East King County, and they weigh in on funding recommendations for how ARCH advances recommendations back to member city councils for investment in specific housing projects. Finally, we have our member city councils that govern really our budget and our work program. And so each member city council has to approve on an annual basis our budget, both for our operations as well as allocation of any capital resources to invest in housing projects. So that's part of why I'm here tonight, and you will likely see me again in the future bringing back some of those funding recommendations for specific projects. Briefly, some of our core functions and the ways that we work with our members to advance housing. We do a lot of work to pool investment from each of our member jurisdictions and then to coordinate that resource with other public and private funding into affordable housing projects to make those happen. We also do a significant amount of housing policy and planning. On request, we support our members in developing various programs and policies, and most recently have done a lot of work to advance housing strategy plans with a number of cities, and those basically create additional work programs for what action cities want to take in the coming years. Third, we also play a role in helping you to administer housing programs once you have set up those policies. So, for example, as you establish a multifamily tax exemption program, for example, ARCH will help you to administer and implement that program in collaboration with each city. Part of that also entails monitoring the affordability of units created through those policies and programs long term, and so that's something that we do as well. Finally, we do attempt to put energy into education and outreach, and really for the benefit of our members to help staff as well as elected officials and members of the community learn more about affordable housing as an issue and really connect residents who are seeking affordable housing with opportunities. So that's a pretty broad brush strokes of what we do. We also had a really good discussion about what are our priorities in 2019, what are we going to focus on amongst all the many good things that we could do. So briefly, those priorities came out as follows. One, we really wanted to spend some time focusing on strengthening that program administration and monitoring function. And so we've spent a lot of time kind of evaluating our policies and procedures. We are undertaking a thorough audit of our homeownership program, and we're going to kind of develop some recommendations for beefing up that function at ARCH. Second, we wanted to dedicate energy towards coordinating transit-oriented development opportunities in a handful of cities that have been actively trying to advance those. And so that's a significant amount of planning work. Third, we wanted to help our member cities understand and develop proposals for identifying dedicated revenue sources for affordable housing. And that really is so that we can create a more robust pipeline of investment and projects and not necessarily have to be in competition with other important priorities for general fund resources. And then finally, we wanted to spend some time understanding how people are accessing the affordable housing that's created through all these policies and programs, whether we're reaching the audiences who we intend to, and whether some additional affirmative outreach would be needed to support our programs. So those are the highlights for our 2019 work program. And I will be happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Must have been real. Oh, there we go. Councilmember Curtis.
Is our TOD high on the list?
It's there.
Down there.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Councilmember Marshall.
Could you explain a little bit about the home ownership program and just in general what it is?
So, as I mentioned, ARCH does help to administer long-term affordability requirements for units that cities create through their local policies and programs. And so over time, there's been approximately 700 affordable home ownership units that have been created in several ARCH cities. And so what ARCH does is we help to oversee those resale covenants. We work to help identify income-eligible buyers, to set the resale prices at an affordable level, and then to keep those affordable over time. Sure.
Anything else? All right. Yeah, Mr. City Manager.
I also just want to, thank ARCH for all they do for our community and for affordable housing. Also, you know, the City Council has brought affordable housing up into its top 5 goals, city council goals, and starting this year. And so we're excited about that, and we're excited to follow your direction on that. And you've done a lot already to put affordable housing policies and ordinances in place. TOD, for example, the mobile home park ordinance that you'll consider in a couple of weeks, and others. And those are great, and it's important to have good policies in place. But cities can also take it a step further by actually promoting actual projects and actually building real affordable housing units on the ground. And so we're excited to be able to be working with a couple of property owners that may be willing to play ball with us on that and actually get some actual affordable units built in Kenmore, and access perhaps some of the Arch Capital Trust Fund money, and also perhaps access some of the $8 million that Councilmember Dembowski has been able to get allocated for the North End. So stay tuned on that, but Nancy Owsley, Brian Hampson have the staff leads on those actual projects where we'd be working with actual project or property owners.
Yes, and thank you, Rob, for mentioning that affordable housing is in the top 5 goals for this year that you set at the January retreat. So look forward to working with Arch and with the rest of our team this year on making some real progress.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. We don't have any action to take on this, do we?
Yeah, we
Oh, we
do.
do? I'm so sorry. Sorry. All right.
Approving the administrative budget and work program.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the 2019 administrative budget and work program for Arch.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Danuski?
Yes.
Councilmember Curtis?
Yes.
Councilmember Marshall?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herbing?
Yes.
Passed.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we've got staff report.
All right, well, once again, the city clerk and I made bets on when the meeting's going to get out, and I have to give a really, really long staff report in order to win the bet. So, do you guys have like a half hour that I could
I have like
pontificate?
$500 riding on this, so just kidding.
No, really quick, I think we're going to need an executive session here in the next few days. I don't have exact details on that yet, but we just met with Bill Linton today from Inslee Best Legal Counsel to talk about a capital project we're working on, and what came out of that meeting today is that we need to meet soon in executive session. So stay tuned. I'll be checking your calendars, looking for your availability over the next few days. I was toying with having the executive session on Monday the 18th, but I wouldn't want to infringe on somebody's birthday, so. Also,
Have it off.
That's fine.
and then State of the City address is this Wednesday. It's a Chamber of Commerce event, but I'll be presenting the State of the City this Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. at Inglewood. It'll also be video recorded, so those who can't attend will be able to watch it later. That's all I have.
All right. Next up, councilmember reports and comments. I'm going to mix it up and go with Councilmember Danuski first.
Nothing to add.
All right, Councilmember Curtis.
So a report on ETP from last Friday, March 8th. One of the reports was Vision 2050, and for some reason, these Vision 2040s and 2050s really appeal to me. Kind of that idea of looking out farther, and you guess, and sometimes they're pretty close, and I think they do pretty well. Just a couple things that I found interesting. the King County, the 4-county area is supposed to go up another 1.8 million people to a total of 5.8 million. And with all the citizen input, they ask questions, what are your concerns? And it's always been transportation, transportation, transportation. Last year, for the first time ever, affordable housing was the #1 concern. And so it says, our 5 council goals are right in step with other citizens' concerns. So we're listening and we're taking action. They presented, so this was Paul Ingram with the Growth Management Planning Director, Puget Sound Regional Council. And they're sort of doing 3 possible scenarios. One is stay the course. We just don't change the growth plans, kind of focus it in the metropolitan and the large city areas. The second option is transit focused, so put more of your growth along the transit lines. And then the third is kind of a reset urban growth alternative that would disperse growth over many counties and move some of it closer to the urban growth boundary. So they've at least got some extremes, and then we'll have to pick something. And the goal is to be done with this plan by 2020. So it's still in process. So, but I've heard a couple of different reports so far, and I generally like the direction they're heading.
All right, wonderful. Councilmember Marshall.
Thanks. Well, since our last discussion on Airbnbs, I got a new expression of concern and then looked over another previous concern I had from a couple citizens. And I was not aware that Kirkland has an actual ordinance addressed specifically to Airbnbs and dealing with them. And so I wanted to advocate for maybe a continued look at whether or not Kenmore, in looking at the number of these complaints and issues and what we can anticipate, might at least take a look at Kirkland's ordinance to see if it's something that we should incorporate here. It seemed like it might be an ongoing concern or growing.
Would you like me to respond?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a graduate student coming this summer as an intern, and I think that might be a good project for him.
I'd like to get a better sense from like the full council whether we want to make that a priority or not, though.
Okay.
I know in other jurisdictions where they've gone through this, it's been hairier than people imagined going in, and a lot more complicated than people imagined going in, and I worry that it could eat up a chunk of our work plan in a way that we're not anticipating right now, just from having seen how it's happened in other cities. So
yeah,
I'd want to get a better sense before we start using staff time on something like that.
You could have the intern do a policy paper that talks about what's been done and at kind of a summary level before diving too deep. But
Yeah, I was going to also say, I recognize that we don't have our full house here yet, so, tonight.
Yeah, there's catching to be something that could be kind of contentious, so. All right, I don't have anything to report other than we're more than halfway through session right now, so soon you guys will get me in a slightly more refreshed mode when I come in, so. Anyway, if there's nothing more to come before us, we are adjourned.